Hello, friends. Welcome to the Ancient Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Chris Motley. Today, I have a very special friend with me today. We kind of bonded, right? Like since we first met. It's Caroline Allen, and she is the co-founder and CEO of Beam Minerals. And Beam Minerals has been making a huge splash and a huge positive effect in the industry of minerals. And I really love, I'm going to shoot ahead, but I love that Beam Minerals is a liquid formula that is so bioavailable and really soaks into the body so well that I'm very thankful for it because I have patients that do really well with it. And I just want to say thank you for being willing to come on here with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Because
it's a pleasure.
I think that whenever you find the co-founders or the CEOs, like, the people that own the business, I just love that you take the time and take the passion to put into something you believe in. And I think that's a big thing with CEOs. I mean, really, like, you have passion. And I can tell about you. But without me talking too much, I just really appreciate it. And people out there do want to know. I want to talk about Beam Minerals. I want to go down the route you want to talk about minerals and energy and life and longevity. But what can we talk about you a little bit? I want to know about you and who you are and where you come from, why you're so passionate about minerals.
Yeah. I wasn't always a mineral geek. I didn't make that up. People just started calling me that because I couldn't stop talking about minerals. So one day somebody said, you're a geek. And I'm like, I am. I'm a mineral geek. So, I got this way, honestly, about it's 2010. So actually, wow, that's 15 years. I had been in a corporate career, and I was a big high-tech project manager for hire. And I burned out of that career, and I had flatlined adrenals. I'd had flatlined adrenals for about 2 years, had been working with many different practitioners trying to heal them. I had really bad inflammation in my gut. I've always had gut issues. I've had autoimmune and when I was a child, and I've always had, I probably am celiac, but I've never really been tested. So lots of gluten intolerance and bloating and dysbiosis and problems in my gut, right? And then I had really bad inflammation in my mouth with, and particularly was exacerbated from after having children. I had 2 children. And then I had receding gums, very badly receding with deep pockets and bone loss in my teeth.
Oh, man. And
I also had sinus infections that would just return every 6 or 8 weeks. So I was in a very, very challenging position. And that's when I met my business partner, a man named Dan Howard. And he recommended that I try these minerals. And he had these liquid mineral supplements. And I was like, okay, well, they were easy to take. They're these little, half-ounce glasses of liquid. They tasted like water, so I started taking them. And I'm not a great supplement taker. I don't like taking pills, but they were liquid. It was easy. And every morning I'd wake up and be like, oh, I want my minerals. Interesting. Because usually I'd be like, oh, I have to take that stuff, And so I kept doing it. After 2 months, I went to my dentist and had my teeth cleaned, which usually I had to have Novocaine to have my teeth cleaned because they were so sensitive. No Novocaine, no bleeding. My dentist looked in my mouth, and she was surprised. She's like, this is amazing. What are you doing? The pH in your mouth is completely changed. The tissue is no longer red and inflamed. It's pink and healthy. What is it? And I was like, I couldn't really even think about it. I was like, and she left the room and came back. I said, I think it might be these minerals that I'm taking. And she was like, well, just keep taking them. So about 4 months in, I went to my naturopath. And I had done my adrenal test, with the saliva test. And I went in, and she looks at the results, and she's like, this is amazing. At my last appointment, she had prescribed, so naturopath prescribed hydrocortisone and orally. And I was like, I wasn't going to do that. She's like, did you take is the hydrocortisone working? I was like, no way, I didn't do that. She's like, well, what are you doing? They were 1/3 of the way up the chart with the natural sawtooth pattern.
Wow.
And so there was that evidence. And again, I said, I think it's these minerals. So I went through one season, no sinus infection. I just kept getting better and better. All of the bloating, all of the discomfort, the constipation and issues that I was having, the elimination just completely left. I started sleeping through the night. I had been somebody who woke up probably 4 or 5 times a night.
Heavens.
And I started sleeping through the night. And I kept going to Dan and going, this is weird. I've been to so many doctors. I mean, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on my health, you know, many, many tens of thousands of dollars on my health, trying to get well. And these little cups of liquid made so much difference. So I started researching. And Chris, I went really deep down the rabbit hole. And I started reading scientific studies. When I didn't understand a word, I'd just keep researching that word until I understood that. I ended up having to study cellular biology and molecular biology and chemistry and plant decomposition and soil and, I mean, all sorts of different things to understand minerals. And in the process, I had so many aha moments. And I went to my business partner now, Dan, and I said, we need to bring this to the world.
Wow.
This is life-changing.
Wow. And when you look at, you know, when you say your teeth and your gums get better, I truly love when somebody does take a supplement or has a mineral, and it's those little changes that they go, man, okay, maybe that is something that changed. And to me, I know I don't want to go down this route and try to take away conversation, but when you say like my teeth, you know, the gums receded and the teeth were weak. And one thing I've noticed too with the B minerals is that when my patients take it, one of the things that really heal up are their kidneys. And when you talk about the teeth or the gums in Chinese medicine, be the kidneys. And I am very deeply, not surprised, I'm just deeply grateful because, you know, I try to be fancy and try to do all these different, you know, take this herbal and do this. And then they do minerals. And they're like, no, I've just been taking, you know, a shot of this and this. And I'm not saying it's simple. I think it's a simple intake, but I think it has it goes into so many areas of your life. So I'm saying that's beautiful too. So seeing something that could be that profound. Now, with your story though, like, and you saw this and you started to develop it. When you started to take it to the world, was it something that you did very quickly? Did you take time to develop? How was that whole process for you on that?
Well, what happened was I really started to research, and then I began to understand the incredible innate wisdom of the body and the incredible complexity of how minerals work. And Dan and we spent probably 5 years just talking about minerals to one another and to anyone who would listen. And watched when their eyes would glaze over or when they leaned in. So we'd be like, what if we said it like this? And then we'd go to somebody and we'd go, what do you think? And we'd say it to them. And you can see people start to go, okay, that's too much.
Yeah.
So we learned and we kept trying to find metaphors and stories and things because there are some things that, I mean, what I realized in the process of research is that we are currently in a situation where it's like if you bought a car and you didn't know how to fill up the gas tank, you'd be in a world of hurt. Okay. And what most of us are doing is the equivalent of taking a cup of gas and putting it in the cup holder in the car.
Yeah.
We have no idea actually how to fill the tank in some way that's actually effective.
Wow.
And in fact, what we're doing is creating lots of problems, stinky gas in the car, you know, instead of actually learning about how our body works. And it's not rocket science. It's very complex at the very detailed level, but understanding how it works can be simple and it can be the most empowering thing. When you have that like the most simple things that can fix complex issues, like one of the biggest things I love about the minerals is its ability to create energy. And I think that those processes to me are like some of the most profound. Could you touch a bit about like how you've seen, like with your research, like how they go in and create energy or fix your energy processes? Yeah. Well, I want to lay a little foundation because it truly is. This is what I want people to begin to think about. So if you look around this room and everything, the cup, everything we're wearing, our bodies all of the structure in the world is minerals. Wow. It's all minerals. This glass is minerals. This table is minerals. The carpet is minerals. Everything that is structural is minerals. So minerals are the substrate of everything. So that already frames, like, we don't know anything about minerals really and how they work in the body, and yet they're the substrate of everything. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second is your body has between 37 and 150 trillion cells. Okay? That's a human, an adult human.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
And each cell is fueled by these mitochondria. So they're these energy generating units that live in the cells. And these energy generating units require two things to generate that energy. One is minerals, and the other is amino acids. Now, your body makes a lot of amino acids. It makes no minerals. You have to ingest all of them.
Wow.
So the interesting thing is, if you think about cellular systems developing on Earth, and they had these mitochondria, there had to be a way to get those nutritional elements into the cells. So, that's what I began to go, oh my gosh, these little cups of liquid are actually the natural mineral and nutritional replenishment technology.
That's a really good way to put it, because it's like when you look at the technology within plants, like, because it's fresh water based plant, it's like, when we're in biology class, remember we would read about how chlorophyll and mitochondrial energy production, and now I love it because I am a nerd. I like reading about things, and I can't believe I had books about mitochondria. But that's the beauty of, like you said, that you have plant-based, organisms that are able to distribute the minerals to you. And so when you're on your journey and you saw the complexity, and they found it, like, I hope I don't butcher this question, but you saw it and you're like, I know this is the source that I'm going to use, and I know this is what people need. How did you pick your source and everything?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so as I learned about minerals and I learned the complexity of how they work together, I actually went to health food stores, and I'd stand in the aisles and I would talk to people who were buying minerals.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm trying to learn what people know and what they don't know about minerals, and how they're determining what minerals to buy and all of these. And because I want to know all the questions that people have.
Yeah.
And people have like 6 pill bottles in their thing, but they had no concept of how those were actually going to work in their body or anything, And what it helped me to understand is that we have to shift our entire paradigm of thinking about mineral. So I don't call it supplementation. So what we have is an aisle at the health food store filled with supplements that are adding, and we need to shift our paradigm and think about mineral replenishment.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's it.
So, and what replenishment requires is for things to be bioavailable. If you think of most of those pill bottles in the aisle at the supplement store, they're made of rocks, shells, and bones. Now, how well do you think this digestive tract works to digest those things? Not very well. Even though they're in powder form, the size that they have to get to is so small to actually be absorbed into your bloodstream and ultimately get inside those cells. So the point being that if you begin to shift your paradigm and think of this body as an ecosystem. Now, in nature, and I like to use this metaphor because it helps people frame and understand a different way of thinking.
My tell is this, like, if I take something, guys, sometimes I'll take something and I feel kind of energized. I will say one of my tells is my eyes. My eyes, you sometimes get a little dry because they call it central serous retinopathy. It's like from old Lyme infection. And I'll do minerals, and they feel refreshed. And I'm like, this is helping my kidneys. And in Chinese medicine, it's like kidneys and the liver. And so every part's getting like absorbed whenever you use it in this form, right?
So, and it's really, again, it's this technology. So So there's, so the challenge with minerals, because they work together, they don't work alone. I mean, and the complexity of the interactions between the 17 to 22 minerals that your body absolutely has to have for all the biosynthesis processes and energy generation and cell development, et cetera, that your body is doing constantly.
Yes.
You cannot, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care if you're the smartest AI on the planet, you're not going to be able to determine how much magnesium you need, or I need, or anyone else needs at any given moment.
That is, again, profound, because thinking about like the AI, nothing can really determine that. In one way, when you said everything was made out of minerals, and I hope I'm not backtracking, but
you're fine.
I love how we can see that everything is made out of that. And one thing that I see back in our history, it's that I believe like in the 1960s, maybe you could touch in on this too, like in 1960s, 1970s, when they started stripping like some basic minerals out of our soil, out of the food line, I guess, they were trying to replenish with some kind of fertilizers and such. And then we're starting to see like a whole nation like full of like people who are like mineral deficient because they were not replenishing, were taken out of the land. Is that what's happened?
Well, so think about it this way. This is a great way to help people understand. So when a plant grows in the soil, because all structure is minerals, the way it creates its structure is by pulling the minerals out of the soil. Okay? Yeah. Now in nature, plants grow, they die, they decompose, the minerals go back into the soil. In our infinite wisdom, we cultivate. We grow plants in the soil. We take the plants over there, we eat them over there, and those minerals never get back into the soil. So when you cultivate in the same soil for hundreds and in some cases thousands of years, that soil becomes more and more nutrient deficient.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And getting minerals back into the soil in a way that's bioavailable for the plant is the same challenge that we have in getting minerals back into our body in a way that's bioavailable to our body. Because guess what? At a cellular level, relative to mitochondrial workings, our bodies work just like a plant.
What?
Yes.
That's amazing, because it's almost like what is happening in the macro happens in the micro, like
as above, so below. Exactly.
So what, like when you learn the tech or created the technology to actually get it into the cell, to get it replenished, you're actually able to bypass the barrier of I hate to say it, like a gut that's not healthy enough to actually absorb, but you're actually bypassing it and shooting forward and saying, hey, now I've got something for me. And your body would be like completely like hungry for it. I bet you just is like, is that how it just like, it needs to grab it and go for it?
Well, so here's the cool thing is that, ever since single-celled organisms were developed, or, in the distant past, in the beginning of cellular life on this planet, there had to be a way to get minerals into that mitochondria.
Yes.
So there had to be some sort of support mechanism to support getting that mineral nutrient content into the cells. So the beautiful thing is these two, we call them complexes in our business, Fulvic and humic, they represent that natural technology for basically providing nutrients in a very efficient way into the mitochondria. And if we didn't have it, we would not be here today.
Yes.
Because their cellular life would have not thrived.
So the humic and fulvic minerals, what I'm so impressed with, and one thing I love about their products, guys, is that it describes how a fulvic and humic mineral, like in nature, you need a carrier in some ways to get into your actual cell. So like you need something to pull it into the cell. So nature provides fulvic and humic minerals. And so it would transport like antioxidants and some micronutrients and things like that. Like you're using those minerals to actually pull extra things in the cell. Is that right?
So I'll use, for people who aren't sciencey, I'll use a story.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in a room right now and there's a door over there and we don't have any windows actually, or maybe there's a window behind this curtain. Yeah. Okay. So if one door and one window are open, then so much can go, air, people, whatever, can go in and out those two openings. Now, you have several kind of barriers in your body that try to keep non-beneficial things out. Your gut lining is one of those barriers. It's going to check. It's going to say, is that a magnesium molecule? Well, great, let's let it in. Is it something else that's not good? We're not going to let it in. Okay. And the same with your cell lining. The cell lining is a barrier. It's like it has these gates where it checks. Is that it's magnesium, let's let it in. Now, one of the beautiful things about Fulvic in particular, which is the one that enters cells, is that your body recognizes it as a beneficial substance. And the Fulvic molecule it's actually a mineral complex. It actually carries like 70 minerals with it. Yeah. 70 minerals, okay? And what happens is this molecule, any channel that opens in the cell wall, so any door or window that opens, that Fulvic molecule gets to go straight through, and it carries its bolus, or its all the minerals that are associated with that molecule, into the cell. And then it does something that no other molecule on Earth can do. It changes its polarity. All molecules have a certain electrical charge. It's either positive or negative, but the Fulvic is the only molecule that can change its polarity, and they have no idea how it does it.
Changes its polarity.
Yeah. And when you study it, when I studied it, I got into quantum mechanics and all the, singularity, it's just all this stuff. And I was like, okay, stop. But it truly is amazing.
Yes.
And what happens, so when it changes its polarity, if you've ever seen a magnet that things were attached to, and then you could release the magnet and the things fall off, that's what happens. The nutritional elements that are associated with the molecule fall off. Now it's delivered the minerals into the cell. But its job isn't done yet. Then it travels around the cell in this positive polarity, collecting negative ions like heavy metals, biowaste, toxins, glyphosate, nanoplastics, spike proteins, and it carries those out of the cell.
So you're not only getting energy production and the actual constant state of balanced energy, but you're actually getting detox of all the things that were in your cells. Your body's like trying to keep contained and trying to do something with it.
Exactly. It's doing intercellular detoxification, that's hard to do.
Yes.
It's one thing to do detox from the bloodstream, or just your water systems, but getting it out of your tissues and like in your brain, etc., getting heavy metals out of your tissues, that's incredible.
It is like, and you and I would know, like us being nerds about certain things, like, I worked with a lot of people with heavy metal content in their body, and it is a task.
It is.
To get heavy metals. And when you can find a form like this to actually pull it out, and actually, I've had people that have done beam, and they'll tell me funniest stories, not funny like making light of it. It's just unusual to me that they'd have teeth and they'd have with metals fillings in the past, maybe got some removed. And they would take it and they would say something like, I kept feeling like this little tickle in my head, middle of my head, like a little. And I was like what? And they were like, it sounds like a little, like, and I was like, okay. And they go, and they'll just sort of, and then the last few days I've been taking, and then I started tasting metal in my mouth. Tasting. I was sucking on a nickel or something. And I was like,
We've had that.
I was like, it's the minerals pulling that stuff out. I guarantee it. Right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we had a few years ago, I had a woman from China. She's a really world-renowned heavy metal detoxification doctor. She's really, really highly lettered and experienced. And she called me, and I was a little worried when she called. I was like, uh-oh. But she says, no. I need to tell you that I've been working for 10 years, and she works with a lot of people from China who are struggling with intense heavy metal intoxication, or toxicity, I mean. And she said, your humic product, our microboost product, is the only thing she's used that has been able to move the dial on mercury and lead toxicity.
What?
Yeah. Like substantial, like many points. She's like, this is amazing. She's like, I'm so happy that I finally found something that actually works.
That is, because to me, there's something beautiful about, like, when you say plant-based or plant-derived, but it's natural. It's like micro in the macro and the micro. But I understand, like, we there's a lot of things that can pull out a heavy metal. They'll say, like, different types of, supplements. And I agree. But I think there's something about nature that, nature, God provides some kind of, form of a natural remedy for, like, the mercury and the things that come out of the system. Like, there is, like, it's like right there. It's like it will attract certain minerals, like minerals will attract other minerals, and charges will attract other charges.
Exactly, that's right.
And I'm really impressed with that whole idea. Like, I remember, who was it? My buddy Dr. Lindsley. He's a big Lyme disease guy, and he would tell me, like, he would study periodic table, and I do too. I like covalent bonds and all that stuff. And he would literally, like, say, well, if you have this mineral or this metal in your body, you are probably deficient in this mineral, because it can pull the bonding can pull that out. Is that what happens?
It's exactly. And this is why you don't want to just go and take a mineral, like a single mineral, unless you know its relationships. So this is the problem that I have with the mineral aisle in the health food store. People are just going, yeah, I'll take some zinc, I'll take some selenium, I'll take some chromium, I'll take some whatever, but there's all sorts of relationships that, we work with a really experienced, she uses a tool called Oligoscan to actually test people's, and Oligoscan is a tool that uses spectrophotometry it just shines a light into 4 places on your palm, and it will tell you actually the load in your tissues of the minerals, both beneficial minerals, heavy metals, also electrolytes, as well as it tells you a lot of other things as well, but those are the main things. Vitamins, it'll also tell you. So what is actually getting into your tissues, or in terms of heavy metals, what's the lifetime load, what is stored? How much of these different minerals are stored? And she can look at that profile of a reading and say, oh, the zinc is low, that means this. Whatever your magnesium is or the relationship between potassium and magnesium, or for phosphorus and whatever. She is able to tell if you have parasites, because these things affect the absorption capacity of a particular mineral. They are all related.
They're all related. So you could take that scan and say, well, if you did have this level, like you can say you're definitely going to have a problem with the maneuvering of another type of mineral or in your body.
Exactly.
Because
so ratios are as important as levels. So we tend to think, oh, if I'm just deficient, I should fill that up. But actually, ratios between certain minerals are as important as the level.
Oh, that would make total sense, because when you were talking about sodium potassium, I was hearing some kind of research about if you imbalance the ratio of calcium to potassium very little in your blood, you'll die. And I used to think
about
heavens, to like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that specific. And when you think about the technology you have that could actually naturally, I don't know how to explain it, naturally take something that could naturally balance your minerals. That is amazing. Like, there's an innate intelligence. So it has, like, the fulvic has to be worked with the innate intelligence in that manner, right?
Well, we can call it intelligence, or we can call it technology, meaning it's an ecosystem tool for an ecosystem. You see? So we've come from our kind of mechanistic, scientific model and background, and there's certainly, that's how I learned all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you have to go back to, how does nature work?
Yes.
And nature doesn't hit things with a hammer, or if it does, it's an earthquake, or it's a volcano, or
That's great.
And you think about even the nature of how Fulvic and we also didn't talk so much about humic, but how they both work to detoxify. And when you think about it, throughout the history of the earth, there have always been concentrations of sulfur and all sorts of different chemicals that came out of volcanoes or wherever that were toxic to cellular systems.
Yes.
There had to be ways to remove those and clear that. So
because if it happened in nature in that big of a realm, it has to have some kind of escape pattern. Like, it has to get rid of it.
Exactly. It has to work always. It can't just only work if this pathway is open, or that, you know what I mean? It has to just work. You see?
I mean, to me, it's like, so it makes super, like, it's commonsensical to say, no, this naturally, it happens out here. It has to happen naturally within the body.
Yes. Isn't this amazing?
It is. See, like,
it's a complete paradigm shift, isn't it?
It completely. Like I like. Okay, so my mom just got an oligo scan, and they just showed me that, and I've got her on a different regimen of supplements and herbs. She's doing pretty well, and they just got back and they said that she did have high amount of mercury. So I'm going to start putting her on the beat even more, because I just got it, and she's funny. She's a little Korean woman, but you can't, if you give her anything that. The minerals don't taste bad at all.
Right.
The minerals don't really, and you just take it. But if I give her anything, she'll just,
right.
I'm like, it's fine, Mom. It doesn't taste like anything. You're gonna be okay. Yeah. And actually, it's pretty refreshing. But when you find like the macro and the micro help and benefit, some people out there may not believe it, but I've had people on minerals and their hair's changed, and their skin's changed. And even touch on that, because I'm telling you, like, appearance is big. Like, I live in Nashville, and everybody's like, it's a lot about appearance, especially country music and such. I'm not saying people are vain. I'm just saying that they notice a difference. They're like, when I take it, they'll go, I know I'm half Asian. People say, Asian skin stays, smooth. But I will say, since I've been taking it, it's detoxified my skin.
It's totally changed my skin.
Has it totally changed? And can you touch on, the benefits like that, the health, and then the conditions it's been helping.
Well, here's the thing you have to realize is if your body does not have enough of that foundational fuel that it needs to generate energy via the mitochondria, what does it do? It chooses. It says, I've got to keep the heart pumping, I've got to keep the heart pumping, I've got to keep the lungs going, I've got to keep the digestion going, but if there's a little inflammation in the gut and we can't get rid of it, well, okay, we'll just go on, keep everything that has to happen. Hair, it's not really needed, and, your skin, you can live if your skin is dull and funky, right? It's just going to keep you alive. You're going to move into survival, out of thriving and into survival. Now, here's the scary thing. Modern humans we're just eating our regular food from the grocery store. What scientists that I've spoken to say, they think that modern humans, and it's even less than this for people who are just eating processed food and McDonald's and whatever. Okay, so have about 40% of the minerals in their body that they need for optimal function. So that's like, take this light and dim it down to 40%.
That is crazy.
Even if you're eating organic, and you're doing well, if you're not actually adding good bioavailable full spectrum minerals to your body is struggling. And what happens is people, if you're young, maybe you have you've got more energy, you've got more mitochondria that are working. As you age, you end up having fewer active mitochondria.
Wow.
So now you need more minerals to fuel those mitochondria, you see? And what happens is these chronic symptoms crop up. In the beginning, the body has enough energy that came from the mother, you see, to, actually begin to keep clearing these things. But as you get older, these things that were really low level, they start cropping up. So now what do we have? We have a population that is filled with multiple, I'm sure you experience it in your practice, people coming in now with multiple chronic symptoms, very complex issues that are all tied together and mixed up. Right?
It's exactly like
and you don't know where to start.
It's the truth. It's like, because I think that when you give somebody the minerals, the body can take the fuel and naturally start eliminating the things that it doesn't need. Clean up, heal up, and then, a practitioner, if they need to do something extra, has a good foundational base to look at. Because in practice, what I find, though, is like, people come in with symptoms sometimes, and they'll say, Doc, and lovingly, they're like, I'll say, they'll go, have this, and this. And then, number one is they're not hydrated.
First.
And if they don't hydrate, they don't have enough minerals. Like, there's no way that they have it. And then I literally have had times where I do lots of muscle testing, I do some other things, some testing, I go, honestly, you need to drink at least 3 cups of water a day at least and take some minerals and then come back and let me see. Because it's almost like you're dried, parched land, and I can't do much with that, and your body can't either. Like, to me, it's like the need now in our culture today. Like, we're seeing like all these conditions. I mean, sometimes I'm surprised. Like in Chinese medicine world, like the kidneys and the heart, and there are times like if you have kidney issues. I'm not saying everybody has a heart issue has a kidney issue, but if you had kidney problems, like any type of kidney swelling, UTIs, kidney stones, bladder infections. The cool thing about the minerals is that the qi, they say life's in the blood. So blood has a polarity and has a charge, but your blood needs minerals. And they say qi always follows the blood. You cannot have electricity without some kind of mineral content in the body. And so you'll find that if they're deficient, their kidneys get really shriveled up and the heart will suffer and they'll start having heart palpitations. And I know you know this, but to me it's like, and sometimes they'll show deficiency in magnesium, sometimes manganese, just different minerals for them. And I think it's profound because you're saying on the macro, I mean, we would say, it's a heart problem. You need to go to the heart doctor, and this is it. And I'm like, no, it's we need to be replenished.
It's an ecosystem issue.
Oh, that's an ecosystem issue. Okay.
We're steeped in this thing of, there's an expert for this and that and the other thing, and we have to start going, oh, maybe this person is overweight. This person's having, blood sugar issues. It's not just an insulin problem.
No.
It's an ecosystem issue, you see. So, it's interesting because we when we first started our company, we only were doing direct to consumer sales. And then we had practitioners calling us and saying, we need to have a wholesale program for our practitioners, for us, because this one woman called me and she's like, I need to talk to you. And again, I was a little worried. We're a new company. We're like, uh-oh. She called me. She said, you have to understand, when people come to me, the first thing that I do is say, start the minerals. Here's this. Come back in a month.
That's what you do. You just start them on the minerals.
Because she said what happened is, if she started them on all the other protocols that she wanted to do with them, they would fail. It wouldn't work. Yeah. And they would give up. But when she started them on the minerals, they'd start to get some more energy. They'd start to feel better. They'd come to her. Then she'd be able to start some detox. She'd be able to start some other, support, herbal support, et cetera. Yeah. And then everything started to get better.
So it's truly,
it was the foundation of her practice.
And it's the foundation of like your system, your health systems, ecosystems.
Ecosystem, right.
Goodness, this is so, because I think that whenever we talk about chronic infections and we're talking about how it affects every single aspect, because like if you're taking the minerals, I've seen it, it'll help your hair, your skin, your nails, your liver, your kidneys, your heart. I mean, there's no place it doesn't affect.
It does. It's exactly. So, and the thing I want to mention, because I think it's important to recognize is, there's all these minerals your body needs, but you can't just throw them in there and expect your body to know what to do with them. So that's why you want to use a tool, the technology that nature developed for mineral replenishment and cellular detoxification. So, and that's Fulvic is that intercellular detoxifier, and mineral and nutrition replenishment delivery system. But the humic is also really important to this. So the humic molecule is much larger than a cell. The way I like to describe it is sort of like a Velcro ball, okay? So it hangs out in your bloodstream and it just travels through your bloodstream. It's very sticky on the outside and it just gathers up biowaste, toxins, heavy metals, nanoplastics, those spike proteins, senescent cells, which the zombie cells, all sorts of other pollutants that get into your system from processed foods and things like that. And it sequesters them, okay? It chelates, so it actually makes a chemical bond, but with things like glyphosate, it actually, what's called adsorbs, so it actually creates a film around that glyphosate so it no longer has its negative effects in your system.
You can put it around it.
Literally, it sequesters it. Okay, in the molecule. And then at a certain point, this molecule gets so heavy at a molecular weight, it falls out of solution and it leaves your body through all of the potential elimination channels, which include your tears your snot, your sweat, your saliva, your earwax, just rubbing your hands together. And of course, the things we think about are urine and feces. But, we often talk about in detox protocols about how you need to have certain pathways open. Mm-hmm. And certainly those pathways are not open in many, many people. Mm-hmm. But if you could start detoxification in a gentle way through these other pathways, you can then you might be able to do a full detox protocol with somebody down the line once their system was supported with energy generation. Because detox can be very hard on the system, as I'm sure you...
Completely, because they'd have to have you got to relieve some of the load before you can't overload the kidneys or liver if they're not even prepared.
Exactly.
I love it that you said earwax and snot stuff, because when people do, they'll just have heavier amounts of earwax crazy, and they're like, well, doc, what's happening? I crust, and I got snot coming out.
Yeah, people are like, my tears are itching, my ears are itching.
Completely. My eyes itch and my eyes water up, and then my tears feel like they're itching. I'm like, I didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, man, we could keep talking. This is a good combo. I really,
I love talking with you.
This is great. So with Beam, I mean, where do you see it going? I know you're growing and you're going, what's in the future for Beam? I know you're just...
Well, what I'm really, Beam, we love Beam Minerals, but I'm really clear that what we are trying to do is bring the message of mineral replenishment rather than supplementation to the world. Yeah. I'm in the process of writing a book, which I'm really excited to bring this information to the mainstream. 15 years ago, nobody ever said the word microbiome.
No.
No. So I feel like what we're trying to do is bring the message of minerals and mineral replenishment and how it works in the body to the mainstream, so people can understand how to get the fuel in the tank.
It's needed. I mean, this is great. We have to do another one of these. I'm not kidding. This will be great, because I love nerding out.
Sure.
I mean, it's all great, but when you said it puts the capsule around the glyphosate, I'm like, oh my word.
Yeah, well, we should do a whole segment just on glyphosate. And get into that. Yeah.
Because the way they drain the body of coppers and we can talk about that soon. But how can people, I know they know Beam Minerals, but Beam Minerals on Instagram, but can you let people know where to find you and on this?
Yeah, so of course they can just come to beamminerals.com, and we have a great educational area with lots of different blogs that are all cited. So for the people who like to get a little deeper, these are, and they're information for people. Maybe you have, menstrual issues, or maybe you have thyroid issues or adrenal issues, or maybe, autoimmune, or, all sorts of different. So we kind of help people understand the landscape of mineral replenishment, how it can support in all sorts of different health challenges that people have. And we try to do it in a really, in a way that makes people feel safe. And, so that's really important to us. Every relationship that we have is important to us. We say we're not just building a company, we're building eternity.
It's true. It's what I'm saying. You build relationships. It's all about camaraderie. And I appreciate it. I'm so thankful that you're here with me and just talking this. And I always do one question, sometimes it comes to the top of my head, but we'll have more conversations. But where'd you get the name Beam Minerals?
It's really funny.
I'm not trying.
It's actually really funny. So we were whiteboarding. Yeah. And we were, what should we name the company? And we said, well, what are we? And we said, well, we're the best electrolytes and minerals, BEAM. And I wrote it up, and then I circled the letters. I'm like, we're Beam Minerals. That was it.
And with that, mic drop. Seriously, that's amazing.
I know, that was it.
The best electrolytes. Okay, all right, guys. Yeah. Oh, Caroline.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really.
I'm serious.
Such a pleasure.
We're like kindred spirits on this, and we'll have Caroline on again. So, guys, oh man, this was good. This is good. We'll nerd out. If you guys want to hear more nerd information on geeking out on minerals, please visit Beam Minerals, and they have a great Instagram page. And please, if you're having any condition, anything, you need to look into using both of the products. And I mean, telling you, it's easy. You literally you can put half a capful in each one, and you can just shoot it, and it's amazing. And they give you a really cool shot glass, which measures it for you. So, okay, so until next time, we're going to have another one. Oh, and yes, and use code Dr. Motley when you go to checkout, and you'll get percentage off on your Beam Minerals order. And I'm just thankful. I wanted to get more into longevity, but one day we'll talk more longevity and stuff, okay? So, guys, until next time, from us here at the Ancient Health Podcast, have a great day. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you so much.